My dear friend, thank you for the honor of staying with me for a few minutes and letting me talk to you. I feel really blessed by that. You know, in the meditation, we talked about being loved, blessed, safe, and free. That's kind of a mantra in my life. Loved, safe, loved, blessed, safe, and free. If it's true, if it could be true that you are loved, like completely loved, and blessed, and safe and free, if that were true, would there be anything you could not accomplish? Would be there any dream you could not attain? Would there be any person who you wish to befriend that would not be joyfully waiting for your friendship? To be loved, to be blessed, to be safe, and to be free. I think you are. I think the only thing is that you don't yet know it because you've accumulated a lot of other information that denies that. Information that's led you down a false path about who and what you really are and what your real value is. There are people outside of you who know who you are, who know how valuable you are. And some of them have been telling you for a long time, but you're not listening. You are loved. You are blessed. You are safe and you are free. We belong to a human family that's loved and blessed and safe and free. And the disturbances, the pandemics and the wars and the criminality that goes on in our family is because there's members of us, in fact, as a whole, that we don't recognize we are loved and blessed and safe and free. Our human family is about 220,000 years old. 220,000 years old. We only started doing agriculture and building little communities about 7,000 years ago. So that means that for 20,000 years, for 200,000 years, we lived out on the plains or the beaches or the mountains. And we moved with the seasons and we moved with the herds. And how did we survive? We had no stores to get food or to get clothes or to get implements. We had no houses with heat. We had no schools. We had no doctors. We had no hospitals. We had no police to protect us from each other. How in the world did we make it for over 200,000 years? Here's how we did that. We were being taken care of, not by doctors or police, not educated by schools. We were being taken care of by something that the natives have forever called Great Spirit, which is the subject of our talk today. Use me, Great Spirit. We were being taken care of by Great Spirit. We were being held in the hand of Great Spirit and guided. We hunted, we gathered, we came together and created families, and we had babies and we raised them and we fed them. And we did that for over 200,000 years without any religion. Without any religion. But we knew that we had Great Spirit, and that's incidentally just a fancy name for nature. Because when we think of nature right now, we think of a mountain and some trees and maybe a lake, and we think that's nature. But that's not nature, that's the result of nature. Nature is a consciousness. Nature is an essence. Nature is a being, it's an aliveness, it's a mind, it's an intelligence. Speaking of religions, Judaism is 4,000 years old. And Christianity is 2,000 years old. And when Father Abraham created Judaism, so long ago, 4,000 years ago, the American Indians, the North American Indians, or as we in Canada call them, First Nations, those people had been here following Great Spirit for 16,000 years here in Canada, here in the US. 16,000 years. And that's when Moses, or when Father Abraham created Judaism. When Jesus was born, the Native Americans here, the Native North Americans, had been practicing their spirituality with Great Spirit for 18,000 years. 18,000 years. They had no priests, no ministers, no churches, no crosses, no rosaries, nobody to teach them, nobody to guide them, nobody to tell them what they should or shouldn't do, nobody to tell them they were guilty or shameful, or that they committed a sin, or that this was wrong and that was wrong. But they knew the way of it, because the way of it was the way of nature, the way of Great Spirit. So they knew Great Spirit. They knew that every leaf on a tree or on the ground was sacred, and every stone was sacred. And when they killed an animal, they blessed it and gave thanks to it because they knew it was sacred. And they were being blessed. They were being given what they needed to survive. And they evolved, didn't they, over those 200,000 years to 240,000 years. They evolved. And we evolved in our minds. Our limbic system and our hearts grew strong and opened. And we learned how to speak. We learned how to sing. We learned how to take that beautiful music in our hearts and bring it up through our throats and out of our mouths. And we learned how to make beautiful, beautiful noises. And we learned the wheel and the fire. We learned those things. And we became adept at what we did. Think back now about the First Nations and the Native Americans that were here for 200,000 years before the white man came, before the Europeans came. Those people that were here, they flowed with nature. They learned from nature. They didn't violate nature. They knew if they violated nature, their lives wouldn't work. If they violated their connection with Holy Spirit, with Great Spirit, their lives wouldn't work. They had to be flowing constantly, didn't they? They had to be moving with Great Spirit. They had to be in harmony with Great Spirit. When I was a boy in the mountains of New Mexico, I asked one of the Indian elders why it was that they had not as much problem finding a deer and bringing it home as the white man did. And this old man said to me, white man walks a lot and looks a little. The Indian walks a little and looks a lot. We, in this day and age, we walk a lot and look a little, don't we? We don't pay attention. There is a movement going on. The person that you love the most, when you talk to them, because you've been with them for quite a while, when you talk to them, do you look at their eyes? Do you look into their soul and listen to their soul as they're speaking? Do you hear the tones of their voice? And you know why that's important? It's because they can't see themselves, just like I can't see myself. You're all watching me now on screen and you're looking at this Bob Trask. I've never seen this person. I can look over at the monitor now and see a face, but that face is backward on the monitor. I don't know who that is. I've never felt this personality, but you have. And so when you notice me, when you see me, when you feel me and hear me, then you bless me. Then you love me. You give me something that I can't get anywhere else. So I need you, and you need me. And we flow together like the wind, like the harmony of nature. But have we forgotten that? That we're loved and blessed and safe and free? Are we chasing the almighty dollar, or trying to get a new car, or hurry, 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 let's get this done because then we have to get that done because then we have to get this done. And let's hurry, hurry, hurry. And oh my God, I'm late for this and I'm late for that. What does that have to do with the Great Spirit? What does that have to do with the Great Spirit that the Indians talked about, that the natives talked about? In the Lakota and Oglala nations and many of the other nations, they called Great Spirit by different names, but one name that I know of is Taku Wakan Shkan Shkan. Taku Wakan Shkan Shkan. Do you know what that means? You know what that translates into? Something holy in motion. Something holy in movement. What? Wait a minute. They're going to worship this thing and they don't even have a name for it. It's just something holy in motion. You see, that's a closer definition of God than ours. Most of us think of God as a guy in the sky. They knew that God was all things in all places at all times. It was the invisible air around us. As you're sitting now in your room, all around you is the spirit and the presence of Great Spirit. All around you and in you, as you, flowing through you. Oh, the Indians, they definitely talked to Great Spirit. They had a prayer, and I have one. I want to just read it for you. And this prayer was translated by Chief Yellow Lark. O Great Spirit, whose voice I hear in the wind, whose breath gives life to all the world, hear me. I need your strength and wisdom. Let me walk in beauty and make my eyes never behold, make my eyes ever behold the red and the purple sunset. Make my hands respect the things you have made, and my ears sharp to hear your voice. Make me wise so that I may understand the things that you have taught my people. Help me to remain calm and strong in the face of all that comes toward me. Let me learn the lessons you have hidden in every leaf and rock. Help me seek pure thoughts and act with the intention of helping others. Help me find compassion without empathy overwhelming me. I seek strength, not to be greater than my brother, but to be greater than my greatest enemy, which is myself. Make me always ready to come to you, my spirit. Make me always ready to come to you with clean hands and straight eyes. So when life fades, and when the sunset fades, my spirit may come to you without shame. And my prayer today is, use me, Great Spirit. Our world is out of balance now, and we need balance. I will do whatever you guide me to do. Please use me. My friend there at home, will you join me? Will you ask Holy Spirit to use you, Great Spirit to use you? But in order to do that, then we have to surrender, don't we? We have to stop being so important and start being valuable. Vast difference between important and valuable. We have to recognize that each element around us is God in person. When I was a boy, I often used to think, I would love to see God. Let me see God. I wish God would walk up to me and let me see God. I now know that I see God everywhere I look. That is God. I'm looking at a camera right now. That's God. You're looking at a monitor. That's God. The hand that's resting on the desk or your armchair is God. Everything is alive. Everything is alive. Everything is in motion. Everything is moving. Everything is 99 point and then 12 nines after that percent space. And that space is God. And if we will let God, if we will let Holy Spirit, if we will let Great Spirit use us, then we have value. Then our lives work. As those natives learned for the American, North American natives for 20,000 years, the human race for over 200,000 years, they didn't even, any one of them ever seek to be important. They must be valuable to themselves and to their tribe, to their band, in order to survive. And that value came from being in service to Holy Spirit, to Great Spirit, and to each other, reaching out to each other. We are incarnations of our Creator, aren't we? And we're here, and Holy Spirit, Great Spirit, by its nature is always, look at it, it's always blending and harmonizing things constantly. Everything's coming together constantly, season by season. It never fails. And yet we think that we can go in a different direction, but we cannot and survive. And we cannot and feel the love and the blessings and the safety and the freedom that are inherently ours. So what must we do then? We must learn to live by our nature. Because the name for nature is Great Spirit. We must learn to live and hold ourselves by our nature, by what's natural to us, and not try to stay up with someone else's ideas or thoughts or the latest fashion or the latest car or the latest saying or the latest food, but to be natural, to be who we came here to be. Because we each came here with a purpose, did we not? A divine purpose. And how in the Sam Hill are we going to be able to accomplish that divine purpose? To live the life that was meant to live, that we were meant to live in this pursuit of that purpose. How can we possibly do that if we're not being ourselves, our natural selves? So we need to reconnect ourselves to nature. We had in one of my programs, we had a process that we do when we were in the wilderness, and I'd ask everybody to stop and take a stick and just draw a square, 1 meter square, 1 meter, 1 yard square, and then to sit down for 1 hour and see nothing except what's in that square, on the ground, just on the ground, or in the grass or wherever they were, for 1 hour. No, don't look away, just look in that square. And then afterwards, we sat and shared the number of things people saw in that square, the number of different kinds of creatures, the revelations that they got was so surprising to them that then when we continued our journey through the forests and through the wildlands, they were looking and seeing, and they became blessed. They became loved. They became safe and free. We have a problem, don't we? We live in these boxes that we call houses. And we wear these factory-made garments. And we drive our cars. And we go to school and we go to doctors and we take medicine. And we think all of that's just somehow automatic. But it's not automatic. It's all being created by and produced by Great Spirit. And yes, someone else may have made this shirt through Great Spirit. Everything is Great Spirit. So we need to ask Great Spirit to use us. And what I mean by that is take me back, Great Spirit. Take me back from this artificial life I'm living and all of the worries that haunt my brain like a cacophony of chattering birds in a tree so that I can't think straight. And let me come back to ground. Let me just be in your peace, Great Spirit. Let me just be with you, Great Spirit. Let me come to a tree and feel its presence and just lean against it and feel it loving me as I'm loving it. And know that that tree has been standing there for longer than I've been alive. And some trees longer than Christianity has been. That I lean against the tree, or I lean against the rock, which is sacred, which is not solid, feels solid to us in this incarnation, but it's not solid. It's made of atoms and subatomic particles. That rock that you see, that rock is coming in and out of existence 1,000 times a second. 1,000 times a second. It's all being created. It wasn't created, and there it is. It's being created. And your body is being created. All of that. So, Great Spirit, use me. Let me look at others as though they were you. Let me see the nature in them. Let me see the beauty in them. Let me help them laugh. Let me help them find their way by showing them that I'm finding my way. That I've put things back into perspective in my life. And I know who you are, Great Spirit. I know who you are, flowing in and around me. And I know that all of my friends and all of my neighbors and all of the people in this congregation right now, I know that we're actually all just one being in multiple incarnations. We are all you. And we've stopped now. We stopped trying to be different or be ourselves and not anything else. We surrender to being you. We surrender to being nature, Great Spirit. We surrender flowing with love. And as your son, as your master Jesus said, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you can say to that mountain, move, and it'll move. Faith is trust. And trust is only for you. Only for you, for your nature. That you carry us moment by moment, day by day, forward into the light. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Thank you, Great Spirit. And all of you who are watching and listening, bless you. You are loved. You're safe. You are free.
So now is the time when we ask for our community to help sustain and support and uplift the work that we do here at Unity. And as I was listening to your talk this morning, Bob, I was thinking, people must wonder, well, how can I serve in a way and that's going to make an impact? And I just want to share that from my perspective. The little things matter. That helping somebody who's in need, even a smile to someone passing by. But in a profound way, when we give to our spiritual community, you're enabling the message and messages like the one that we had today to be given. And I know that there are people that are watching this morning who are troubled in some way and who are being helped. And by the generous contributions of others who are also watching today, you are making a difference in those people's lives. So just know that we really appreciate your contributions and really try to give with an open heart, because there's a metaphysical principle that says, as you give, so shall ye receive. And when you give with an open heart, that principle can operate unhindered. It can operate at full amplitude of frequency so that when you give, you naturally receive. And in that spirit, I'd ask you to join me in the saying of our offering statement now. If you would repeat with me together, divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And coming up next Sunday, we will have a new topic, which is building spiritual mind power. And who couldn't use a little bit of extra mind power? So that's what I'm very much looking forward to. And today, we also have prayer available online after the service. And we have 3 highly trained chaplains available to pray with you in a private room after the service. And they are Jeannie Bell Irving, Carolyn Conlon, and Luciana Velve. And they will pray with you for any purpose, for healing for yourself or others, for dreams and visions to be realized. You don't wait until things get tough before you pray. If you pray in advance, there's extra power. So we invite you to join them. If you want to do that, we'll give complete instructions after the close with the peace song. And so with that said, we're now going to go into a quick Q&A session where you have the opportunity to ask questions of Reverend Bob on his talk. And I've made a couple of notes. We could use a few more questions in the chat window if there's anything that arose for you while the talk was going on. But I'll kick things off with a simple question. Reverend Bob, meditation is a very important part of unity practice. And we know that it's good for us in so many different ways. But maybe specifically, can you tell us how can meditation be used to help us to serve?
Boy, that's a beautiful question. It's really a beautiful question. We've been talking today about Holy Spirit, about Great Spirit, and I'd like for you to see that presence in motion. It is motion. It's like a great river or a great soft wind, great warm wind, and it's blowing through our lives constantly, always. But we're busy, like we're little ants running around with little loads on our back, and we're not paying attention to who and what we really are as part of Great Spirit. When we go into meditation, and I know for some of you, you say, well, I can't meditate, or I don't like to, or I'm too busy, or whatever. But if you will take the time to learn to meditate and make it easy, just go online and type in Google meditation music, and just listen to music if nothing else, and be quiet for 10 or 15 minutes a couple of times a day. What happens is that you flow out of all of the busyness and into that wind, into that river, into that motion, that great blessing of Great Spirit, and you become one with it. And then what's natural for Great Spirit is to be creating. That's what Great Spirit does, creates all the time. The nature of Great Spirit is to create, and Great Spirit is the creator and the created. And what happens when you become one with that is that you immediately start creating. You immediately start looking for a need. You immediately start seeing someone in need or somewhere there's a need. And automatically and naturally, you begin to serve. So meditation really works. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, and the second question is, actually, it was based on something that Sean posted a little bit earlier, where he wrote, "My brother passed in November at just 60 years old. After speaking with his kids and wife and friends, we all realized how much he didn't realize how loved he was." And so I want to turn that into a question and say, Bob, how can we better appreciate that we are loved by Spirit and the universe?
Thank you. Well, that's a great question, and I love answering that question. You see, here's the thing. As I was saying in my talk, we are loved. I said it over and over again, we are loved. But the truth of it is that being loved is like taking a shower. you don't, I mean, it just flows over you and around you, and oftentimes doesn't go into you. But if you're being loved, it has to be constant. It's love is emotion, not emotion, although it can be emotion, but is emotion. It's motion, it's flow, it's energy. Love is an energy. It's a vibration, it's a frequency, and it must constantly be flowing. So it's not enough for you to say to someone, I love you, and then walk away and not love them. If you love me, then love me. Then love me. Then put me in a place in your heart and keep me there. And forgive my trespasses, forgive my sins, and you'll be forgiven as you forgive mine. But forgive my sins, forgive my trespasses, forgive my goof ups, forgive the times that I accidentally hurt your feelings, forgive that, and just love me. But you have to constantly, you are the wind, you are the river washing past me, the rock. You will constantly bless me, constantly love me. And so, in terms of Sean's brother, who died at 60 years old, which is a young time to die, and maybe never knew he was loved, it wasn't enough for somebody to just send him a birthday card or a Christmas card or make a phone call once in a while and say they loved him. They needed to constantly love him. We need to hold those people that we love in our hearts and send out that love. And that vibration, that frequency goes out and touches them, even if they're 1,000 or 10,000 miles away. There's no such thing as time and space. It's all one. And love is all one inside of that. And so what we need to do is we need to constantly love those people that we love. Constantly love them. Always. And the way to do that is to be love, to not be anything other than love. And if you and I say to ourselves, today I am love, I shall be love today, that means there's a whole lot of stuff that was going to be going on that's not going to be going on. There was a whole lot of attitude, a whole lot of reactions that are not going to happen now because I'm love, I'm just love. So I also, and I say this to Mary, my wife, I say, do you know how much I love you? And she says, yes. And I say, I don't think you do. And the reason is, and I don't think she does, and I don't think anybody does, because the love that flows out from me can only partially be received by somebody because of their worthiness or because of their ideas or because they're busy or what. I would love for you to see that I love you, dear listener, dear watcher. I'd love for you to know that I love you totally and completely. I'd like for you to feel that, but that'll take some practice on your part. Sean, you got a real wonderful wake-up call from your brother. That's and now it's awake. And now it's awakened all of us. Thank you.
Okay, and
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah, and I think you make some great point. You make some great points there, which are that you've been practicing this for many decades, and you've made it a part of yourself. You have integrated it into your internal operating system so that it goes through practice from being an intention to being who you actually are. That's obvious. And so the practice part is very important. So I want to ask the question, which is, what are a few simple ways, or maybe even a single thing that we can take away from this Sunday to do this week to consciously practice to enable us to be in that presence of love and in that presence of service?
Thank you. Thank you. That's a great question. There's a couple of things. The first thing, number one thing to do is start focusing on your heart. Stop focusing so much on your thinking and your thoughts, your logic, your decisions, your opinions, your beliefs, and just trust your heart. Your heart is an intelligent part of your body. It's in many ways more intelligent than your brain. Gives off more. I was talking about frequencies and energy. Gives off 500 times more energy and frequency than your brain. Your heart is an amazing, amazing center of wisdom and understanding. So during this week, if I were, and probably I'll just tell you this, I'll just do this myself. I'll make it a point to do this myself. I will listen and hear. I will not only listen to what people say and to the sounds around me and the wind blowing and the car going by. I will listen and I will hear. And I will listen and hear for great spirit in all things. I will look and see. I will look and see. I won't just glance around and be busy in my mind and get on. I will look and I will see. And I can only do that if I'm coming from my heart. So let's slow our lives down. Slow them down. I don't know if you ever had the opportunity to watch the Harlem Globetrotters play basketball. Wonderful, wonderful exhibition of incredible talent. And Meadowlark, amazing guy, comes down the floor and he is so relaxed, he's almost asleep. And the ball is doing all kinds of things that nobody can do. But he does that, he creates that miracle of that because he's one with Great Spirit. He's just flowing. You and I this week need to just flow, slow down, listen and hear, look and see. Do that from our hearts. I will. Will you?
Okay, and yeah. So our last question comes from, okay, the last question I believe is, or did we just, I'm losing track. I was so busy thinking about what to ask you next. I'm forgetting which question I just asked. Did we do the Bria Forbes question yet?
No.
No. Okay, so Bria Forbes asks, how can we use the breath as a healer?
The breath as a healer, that's an excellent question. The ancients, especially in the Middle East, have in India, in China, and in Japan, have in parts of Indonesia, have used the breath as a healer for centuries. It's called prana. And when you breathe in, see, when you breathe in, you're breathing in the universe. If we could be like a cat that smells everything, or a dog, if we could just smell what we're breathing in, we'd smell all of the thousands, maybe trillions of ingredients that are in the air. The smell of minerals, the smell of vegetation, the smell of the earth, the smell of the sea. All of those are being breathed in, and all of those elements of all of nature are coming into us with each breath. You can almost see it, if you will, as light. And the light is shining through all of nature as the presence of Great Spirit. And that light, as you breathe it in, is going into you. You're breathing in that light. And you hold it. And of course, the things that are needed, like the oxygen goes into your bloodstream and courses through your body, and the CO2 and other kinds of poisons are breathed back out. So as you breathe in, you're breathing in God. As you breathe out, you're breathing out yourself, your blessings to the universe. So with each exhalation, there was a blessing. We would be making a difference in the world. So that when we breathe with the intention of breathing Great Spirit, of breathing Holy Spirit, of breathing God, and then we hold that with gratitude, such gratitude. You know, we can live for a long time without food. We can live for quite a while without water, but we can only live 4 or 5 minutes without breath. So breath is healing. Breath is who we are. So when we breathe in, don't just breathe air. Breathe God. Breathe it into all parts of your body. Let it heal you. And when you breathe out, breathe your blessings out into the world. Thank you for that question.
It was beautiful. I think that the breath also provides us with an incredible example of oneness. We talk about oneness all the time, and those of us that have really deeply studied quantum physics know we start to really come into an understanding that we're not separate at all. But for many people, it's still a very hard concept to grasp because we really do feel so individual. We have this self, but the breath, when it's really looked at carefully, shows us that we are not separate. Because think about, you have a central nervous system. What is that? That's this system that takes care of all of our movements and actions and literally the operation of our body. And what is a system? It's everything that's included in doing that. We have a circulatory system, but we also have a respiratory system. But see, here's the thing. You make the point, how long can you go without breathing? So anybody who thinks they're separate, just try plugging your nose for 2 minutes. You see, in order to breathe, we actually need trees to output oxygen. And we then bring that oxygen in. But the minute we cut off the connection to the tree, to the external environment, we die. So truly, the trees and all the space between the trees that convey the oxygen are part of us. They are truly part of us. We wouldn't exist if it wasn't for that connection to the trees through the space. So that's a part of us, inextricably, just simply wouldn't exist. So anyways, just wanted to throw that piece in. Yes.
Another part of what you just said, another part of that makes us one with the trees is that when we exhale the CO2, the trees breathe that in. That's what the trees need. So they give us oxygen, we give them back CO2. So we are actually in a symbiotic relationship of oneness.
Life is a two-way street. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for this Q&A session this morning, Bob. We're going to bring it to an end, and thank you so much. Great gratitude. And to everybody who was on today, we're now going to move into the conclusion process. We're of course going to have breakout rooms and online prayer, but we're going to move now into our closing prayer for protection. And if you would all please join me in reciting all together now. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.